in a different form, okay, and still can survive with your original information. Okay, does it answer
So
the question?
yes, sir. So with the change in the conditions, like you are saying, if it changed to some other adverse conditions, so will the sequence of the codon will also be changed?
So sequence of codon is much more different system, because where to change the sequence, what do you need to do? You have to break the bonds. Now think about just pi-pi stacking, hydrogen bonding interaction. They're weak interactions, right? So over there, the change of energy is pretty minimal. But if you want to break a bond, that is a huge amount of energy. That much of energy is not allowed out of this overall change in the system. And also you can think, if it is that bad that you are actually breaking the bond, then there is no surety that you will hold the particular sequence of the codons. Okay, that means you are probably going to give a, like, instead of a glycine, you are going to give a proline very easily. So DNA doesn't change the sequence that easy. That may change during the adaptation or evolutionary process, but it is not that easy. Okay, it is not that easy. In particular, one particular sequence in a DNA form, double-stranded DNA form, they are very stable. Okay, generally the change in the sequence happens in the single-stranded DNA. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, and read more biology, because I am not a biologist, so I cannot give you all the answer till the end. But this happens in the biology in the long of the time. But generally, the sequence change happen when the DNA is more vulnerable. That means in its single stranded region. In the double stranded, there are a lot of hydrogen bonding interaction, pi-pi interactions to stabilize.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to show you all this aDNA, bDNA, and zDNA. They also have their particular CD spectroscopy. So over there, I'm showing you a bDNA system. And as I told you earlier, the bDNA form can be formed with different sequence, and depending on the sequence, their interaction is a little bit different. It is not like the secondary structure of the protein, which is always same. Doesn't matter what is the sequence. However, in the DNAs, depending on the sequence, their secondary structure, the double helix, can change a little bit here and there. And that fine change you can find through CD spectroscopy. So over here, you can see I am showing you the DNA. This is a calf thymus DNA, a thymus DNA found in a bovine creature. And over here, it is actually giving you the sequence CG triplet. That means CG, CG, CG. This is the sequence. And TA, another triplet, TA, TA, TA. And all the sequence repeated 4 times, followed by another CG sequence, followed by 3 times. And over there, you see D means double stranded. Okay. And you can see this is how the signal looks like. But very importantly, before we go further, look where we are actually seeing the sequences around 240 nanometer, 280 nanometer, right? Even 220 nanometer. Why we are seeing the signals over here? What is there in the DNA which can absorb around 270, 260, or 280 nanometer? Anyone?
Sir, can you zoom it a little bit?
Zoom it a little bit further. Is it better? I will give you the article over there so you can follow it up. It is not very visible over here, the original structure here. So it is 200, 206, 240, 240, this is 280, this is 320. Is it visible now? So that is what is actually the signals are there. So you are seeing most of the signals are showing in the region of 260 to 300 nanometer region, mostly around 280 nanometer region. So what is there in DNA which absorb around 280 nanometer? Anyone? So think about it. In the DNA, what are there? Phosphate group, ribose group, and the nitrogen bases. So who is probably absorbing around this region?
I think it is nitrogen.
It is the nitrogen base. But again, you can think about nitrogen bases. Are they chiral?
No, no chiral.
They're planar molecule. They're not chiral. But still, they are showing CD peaks over here. So what is the reason for that? It is again the induced chirality. Because if you look, again, sorry, if you look again over here, the nitrogen bases are here in between, but around it, there is a helicity going on. The backbone of the DNA is creating a helicity. So when you shine a circularly polarized light, the overall structure and its electron distribution creates a helical movement. And as I just told you, a helical movement is the origin for creating the molecular chirality. Okay, the molecule itself is chiral, the individual monomers are not. The overall polymer is actually chiral. Okay, and because of the overall helicity around the system, that nitrogen bases, which actually sits between this helical system, that actually getting induced by this chirality. Otherwise, this backbone also absorbed, but it is below 190 nanometer. That we are not observing. We are observing in the region where the nitrogen bases are optically active, around 280 nanometer. That is again because of the induced chirality. Okay, so this is the induced chirality towards the nitrogen bases, which actually makes it optically active. Okay, and you can see, depending on which nitrogen bases are, their interaction with the helical backbone is different, and that's why you are getting different kind of signature. All of them are showing bands around 280 nanometer, but not all of them are same. Okay, so over there, that is a polymeric chain of double-stranded AT sequence, AT repetition, AT, and your opposite, you have the another AT to create the double stranded, and you have this particular signature. Now see, this is totally different from a thymus DNA or this particular sequence. Or over there, it is a polyaromatic AC followed by polyaromatic GT sequence. Again, it is different. Similarly, you can see all the other sequences are different. The main important part is not to recognize, the difference between them, not to memorize all of them, because you can find it in the literature, how it looks like. The important thing is to remember that a DNA structure can be chirally active because of its overall helical structure in the molecular level, and it actually due to the induced chirality through the nitrogen bases. Okay, if I take an absorbance band of DNA, I will see a band around 280 nanometer due to the nitrogen bases, because they are the heteroaromatic cycle. Okay, so that is why I am getting it. So this is what we are seeing for the B form. Now what happened if I go to a form? So over there, this is the A form of a system. Over there, there is a maximum I'm showing. And again, over there, you can see, okay, let me show you. I actually missed the region. Because I want to show you the axis level, which is delta epsilon. So over there, this is the A form. So if you take the same sequence in the A form and B form, you can monitor their difference via the CD spectroscope. Okay. Again, over there, it is showing a stark difference between all A forms, but different sequences. Again, you can take the same sequence, different form, A or B. You'll see the differences. Okay. And over there, if you can see it properly, over here, they can also see how the DNA sequence can be changed from one form to other if you add temperature or different molecules to induce the change in the overall structure. And that you can also follow by following up a transition at a particular wavelength, say like 260 nanometer I'm forming. And over there, they added an external molecule, trifluoroethanol. The identity of the molecule is not important. The importance is that this particular double-stranded GC DNA system is actually going from a Z to A transition. And you can see there is a change in the transition over here, and you can follow it up at different concentration of the TFE, and you can find actually which particular amount of this external addition will trigger the change. Okay, it is very much similar to the melting point curve of the proteins. Similarly, over there, they looked into the B2A transition by adding TFE. TFE is a molecule which actually creates a hydrophobic interaction, which is nothing but creating a low hydricity or a high salt situation. So that's why the transition is happening from B to A or Z to A. Okay. So over there, these transitions are again showing that you can use CD spectroscopy as a very nice tool to find out how the DNA structures are changing and where the change is happening. Okay. And at the last structure, I would like to show you a figure of the zDNA. This is the form of zDNA, different structures. And you can see that is exactly quite different when you go from different sequence. And again, you can create a situation in a solution by adding different molecules or changing the salinity or changing the temperature, where you can trigger the change of the form of the DNA, A to B to Z, or different possible combination in between them. And how to monitor that? You can monitor that via the CD spectroscopy. Okay, so that's why CD spectroscopy can be a very useful tool to find out what is actually happening in DNAs, whether it remains in A form, B form, or Z form. Very easily you can find it out via CD spectroscopy. So in the near future, if you are using DNA as one of your reagent for a chemical reaction and you want to find whether the DNA is interacting or not, you can use CD spectroscopy to monitor this reactivity if there is a possibility of changing its overall structural dynamics. If you don't see any structural dynamics, you'll see the CD spectrum remains same all overall during the reaction. But if you see some changes, you can say that overall structure is somehow changing during the reaction. Okay, so that is why CD can be a very useful tool, as I was saying, not only for the protein but also for the DNAs. Okay, so any questions up to here?
So by this, we can only see the transition from A to B and B to Z or A to Z. Like in the previous case, CD spectra, just by looking at that, we can detect whether it's alpha form or the beta sheet or the random coil. Just by looking at the spectra, can I detect or expect that this is the A form and B form?
Yes, obviously you can do that. But I'm saying that because in protein structure, what happens, there is all possibilities that you can have a mixture of alpha helix, beta sheet, and random coil, and all different propensities. You can have 0% to 100% for all of them. Now, in DNAs, what happens, as I just said, bDNA is the most common one. It presents, I forget the exact number, but probably more than 80%. Okay, so it is the most dominant one. Now you want to find out a change in what is the percentage of the DNA is changing from one form to the other. At that time, you are using a CD spectroscopy. So you already know that in a common system, I am going to probably find 80% plus bDNA and a little bit of aDNA, almost no zDNA. However, you are doing an experiment where you are expecting that a lot of zDNA will come up. So that's why you are mostly looking into where the change is happening, and you already know that how the zDNA would look like. Okay, you will create that condition at high salinity condition, the zDNA structure will form. You create that condition and you measure how the DNA structure CD will look like for that zDNA form. In normal condition, bDNA. You add a lot of TFE, trifluoroethanol, to create a hydrophobicity, it will create the A form. So you do all this control experiment first. And then in the real experiment, you change one of the parameters slowly and try to find out from the bDNA where it is going to A to Z, exactly where it is changing and all those things. So you will get a clear picture of its overall structural dynamics. Okay, does it answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So now, before going further, I will like, yes, please go.
So that means the B form or A form or Z form, they have some characteristic peak or something like that.
Yes. So
for a particular sequence, they have
a particular sequence. Yes. So it is not like any B form or any A form or any Z form has the same particular band. Okay, depending on the sequence, they will change. But the important thing is that for a particular sequence, if you go from A to B to Z, they will be different.